welcome everybody to this event for our Insider Talk with Justin from Warner Bros. We're so excited, Justin, to have you here. Thank you so much for taking your time. We know you're pretty busy, so we appreciate you giving us the hour to, give us some insights about, your job and also the company that you're working at, and then also, of course, a little bit about your role as one of our coaches for our program too. So thank you, Justin. Thanks for coming.
Of course, glad to be here. Looking forward to chatting with you. It's not often I get to talk to you, so great with that. But yeah, definitely looking forward to the Q&A session. So,
Yes, yes, likewise. So to provide a little bit of insight for everybody in terms of this event kind of breakdown, we're gonna first start with, a fireside chat with Justin. So I'll be asking a few questions to Justin, and then in the meantime that I ask my questions, I want you guys to start populating this chat with questions as well on your end, and then we'll get to your questions. After that, we will introduce briefly to some of you. We have also some of our participants here. So welcome to all of our participants who are also joining this event. For all of you guys who are not yet familiar with the program, we'll be also introducing the program in about 10 minutes or so. And then afterwards, we'll reopen everything for a Q&A, not only for the program, but also any final questions that you might have for Justin as well. So that's going to be how this event goes. So obviously, without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker here, Justin Delaney. So Justin started working at Warner Bros. Studio as the studio operations client manager, overseeing all the production filming on the studio lot, before taking up now a new role as a senior financial analyst, which is an incredible, I guess, position, which we're really excited to hear more about for Warner Bros. Discovery. So that's a little bit more about Justin. Our relationship with Justin is that Justin is one of our amazing industry coach for the program, who's been guiding our participants going towards entertainment careers. So we're very lucky to have him. And let's go ahead. I don't know what we wanted to add a couple screenshots of Warner Bros. Thing. I'm gonna stop sharing now, and we'll just go straight in. Just one last time before we do so, because we are now 78 on this call, which I'm so happy about. Such a great turnout. Housekeeping rules one last time. Everybody please remain muted, and then let's utilize the chat for us to be asking questions, talking to each other, and let's just make sure that we remain unmute, because otherwise muted, sorry, because otherwise it's going to get a bit cray. So Justin, let's get to us. First of
hey,
all, as I mentioned, thanks again. Maybe perhaps to start off, it'd be amazing maybe if you could share a little bit more with this crew here, a bit about your journey. How did you start? I think most of the people here are in their beginnings, right? So what was your beginning like, and how did you start, and what was your journey to kind of get to where you are now?
yeah, definitely. So I always like to say my start was 15 years old, nothing to do with the entertainment industry. I was just in marketing class in high school, and my marketing teacher came to me and said that he had heard about an opening at this hardware store and that I should apply for the job. I applied for that job. I worked there. Yeah, I was hired like the next week, and that's where I got started. What I noticed there was that they had different sections in the hardware store. They had the key maker, they had the paint mixer, they had the person who was like the expert on nuts and bolts, and then they had the cashier. And it was like each section had their own person. They never mixed or anything. No one ever worked in another position. And so I took that as my my way of saying, okay, I should probably learn all of these different things because clearly there's something to being an expert. So became an expert on the paint, became an expert on the keys, cash register. And soon enough, the manager was coming to me asking, about to show me how to do his job. And I really figured out early on that it's great to be a jack of all trades. That makes you indispensable. And when you're working in the entertainment industry, you kind of have to be flexible. You kind of have to know a little bit of everything because there's no straight path with this industry. So that's where I got started with working. To answer your question directly, my first venture into the entertainment industry was at a talent agency, boutique talent agency out here in LA. I just moved out here in 2013, 2 weeks after graduation from undergrad. And it was about 6 months into living in LA that I got this internship. I had been applying for jobs. I live in Burbank, California, so that's where Warner Brothers is. That's where Universal is, Disney, all of the biggest studios. And I could not get a job. And that was because I didn't have that experience. So much like all of the students here, you're looking for internship opportunities. I knew that was my way into the door. So I got this internship at the talent agency. And that's where I really learned about what really happens in the industry, who the real players are. At that moment, starting off, I just knew actors, I knew writers, I knew directors. That was pretty much it. But at the talent agency, that was my first time seeing a contract. That was my first time talking to an entertainment lawyer. I learned what a producer was. I was talking to casting directors and production and talent managers, really immersed in it. And it was a 2 month internship, and I ended up staying there for 4 months because I became pretty much a mini talent agent. And that just goes back to that first job, which was make yourself indispensable, learn everything, a little bit from everyone. So then, you know, they can't see work without you there. Um, so yeah, that's how I got started.
I love it. I love it. So you started obviously as an intern, right? Which is obviously where we're all starting. And after that internship, like what happened? Did you right away get the job at Warner Bros? Like, did you have to go elsewhere? Like, how did that transition work? Because I know that's the million
I,
dollar question.
I really wish it was that easy. No, I really wish. No, I went on to my next internship, which was a production development company. Um, After that, I started working at a hotel and quickly, well, not quickly, maybe a year or two in, became a manager of that hotel. Really cool industry, great opportunity for, elevation. Um, but I still knew I wanted to work in the entertainment industry. That's why I had moved to LA. So how I got to Warner Brothers from there is still applying, but all I have is, a couple of internships, no real production experience. So I still knew I wanted to work at Warner Brothers. So I came across this opening for a tour guide, and the interview process was auditioning. I had a theater degree. I went to school for theater and organizational psychology and writing. So I had that theater degree. So I figured, I should have this in the bag. This is my foot in the door. So I auditioned or interviewed, auditioned, and got that job. So I was a tour guide, but I am horrible. If you ask me anything about the studio, I know the last 8 years of what happened to the studio. I'm not a tour guide. I never gave a tour. Um, my whole thing was I just needed an in. And so each day I would go to work, I would pretty much go to the commissary and just network. And I came in contact with the VP of studio operations who had an opportunity available one day as I was talking to him. And that's how I got that job in studio operations. And from there, I just worked my way up to client manager and then finagled my way into finance, which is still crazy to me. But I don't know why they let me do it. But yeah.
Well, clearly there's some reason. I love that. I think it's really cool to hear it, and I think it's so reassuring for everybody on this call also to understand that you kind of like took the back door, like so to say, right? Like you kind of like figured out a way to just be in the room and then like made it happen. So I think that's really reassuring because like typically we have we're always thinking that we want to enter with a grand door and like arrive right away from like that job that we always wanted. But it's cool to see that it doesn't happen like that, and that there's other ways, right, to get in. So I think that it's an incredible story. I'm pretty sure that everybody here would love to get a little bit more of an insider perspective about Warner Bros. Like, it's a massive company. Can you explain, maybe obviously briefly, because we want to get to several questions, but can you maybe explain to us like how is it structured? What are the main departments where people could be working, in like how, yeah, just give us a little bit because I was trying to research and I felt like it was very complicated to understand.
And that's one of the things I love most about Warner Brothers. It's a huge company, which means regardless of what field you're in, what industry you're in, you can work at Warner Brothers. You have marketing, you have advertising, you have finance, you have WB TV, you have WB Pictures, you have WB Games. There's literally something for everybody. I mean, I can keep listening to Food Network. If you like cooking, I mean, that's something for you. If Discovery Channel, CNN News. So there's just pretty much everything across the scope. For the studio, we have WB TV, WB Pictures, WB Games. They're all there. So for that, that's even broken deeper. So for instance, I said earlier, I work in studio operations. That's just one part of that studio as a facility. And what that department does is literally manage the studio. So that goes all the way from what I was doing, being the person who brings productions in, all the way down to the custodians. So you have custodians, you have, the grips, set lighting, you have electricians, you have plumbers. All of these people fall under that band of studio operations. So that's more of a corporate, more of an admin type division within studio operations that works directly with production. And then you have WB TV, which, like the name says, is dealing with TV. They have their own branch of marketing. They have their own branch of publicity and advertising and finance, and it goes on from there. Consumer products is a huge, huge part of Warner Brothers. So, say for instance, when you're thinking about the strike that just happened, and you think, all production is stopped, that doesn't mean that the studio has stopped making money because they also still have consumer products that they're selling. They still have the movies um, that are streaming. They still have the tours that are still running. There are multiple parts to the business. We also have like a design studio. They design like posters for the Dodgers and stuff like that. So we pretty much touch everything. I was just talking to someone, my old boss from studio operations, and he was telling me about the design studio and how they were working with a restaurant, I think in Texas, and they were basically designing the couches in the dining area and everything for them all the way here in Los Angeles. So it's a lot that we do here.
It's so interesting. I didn't realize that you guys were like so like all over on like so many different kind of segments, right? And that's really interesting. So it really built itself as like kind of so many different legs. And so during the strike, because the strike was a big thing, right? Like the for the writers, and
Huge.
so you guys were still kind of running despite that. You didn't get hit too much because there were so many different segments and revenue streams that you were doing right. You were doing good.
Still going. I mean, my role within, we lease the studio out to productions, right? So as a Warner Brothers studio, you're the major studio. People want to work there. So typically my job was fielding calls, like getting calls, seeing if they can fit into my schedule on the lot. When the strike happened, now my job became going out and getting smaller productions, independent films, getting music videos. We had a music video from the Middle East come all the way out here because we finally had, space for them. So my job got a lot harder. So I never stopped working, but unfortunately, a lot of other people did. But yeah,
I love that. That's
everything kept going.
that's probably a humbling experience, right? Because before people are calling you and like, sorry, I don't have space, and then like suddenly you're having to
Right,
be
right.
like, hey, I want to come back and shoot.
Please work with us. No, it was. I like that word. Very humbling.
That's great. Well, you need that, right? Sometimes. So really cool. By the way, if you guys have follow-up questions about Warner Brothers, like feel free to kind of ask. I'm going through my questions, but then we'll open up to you guys. So I think something that we really want to kind of hear, and I'm sure a lot of people here also want to kind of touch upon, is that you were mentioning a little bit earlier about being kind of learning how to be that all to be around all those departments and to really become indispensable, right? But are there other kind of skills or qualities that you think are really essential to make it into this industry? I mean, it's not an easy industry and everybody wants to be in it. So what do you think are like some, qualities or skill sets that might separate you from others?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to be honest because I feel like this industry is really more heavily based on networking. It's going to be that person who gives you the opportunity. It's a lot of jobs you'll apply for online, but the people getting those jobs are the ones who are able to directly reach the hiring manager or the person who's in charge of that department. So it's really about getting in contact. So I would say the best skill to have is being resourceful. soft skill, but being able to figure out, okay, I'm applying for this role. This role is for, I don't know, a PA position on Young Sheldon. It's you can't find that anywhere. Like, who's the producer for that? But you can find it if you go on LinkedIn, or you may have to, read a couple articles and figure out, okay, I see this name here, Steven, you know, let me go over here and try to figure out who's connected to this person and just finagle a contact so then you can, apply, reach out to the contact, whether it's on LinkedIn or through email. If you have that, I suggest LinkedIn, but be able to say, I applied for this position in just a little chat. Like, I'm about to graduate next year. I may not be available for this position, but I am definitely looking when I graduate next year. Just having that little note. So just being resourceful in that way. Again, just being adaptable. There's a lot of times where you're going to get pulled in different directions. With entertainment, people shift a lot. So they're going to go to the next best option available. So sometimes openings open up and they need to be filled the next day. So being able to jump into a role and be able to succeed in that role is huge. But again, that comes with kind of knowing everything and then having that learner mindset, being able to quickly grasp concepts and going from there.
I love that. And by the way, thank you for that tip, because it's true. I was thinking about like, how do you find those PA gigs in the first place, right? So it's really cool to like go through actually the research, right? And kind of figuring out how to get the right names and then connect with them on LinkedIn. I think that's a great tip, because quite often it's not posted online, right? It's not as easy as like, hey, come and work for JP Morgan as like an administrative assistant. Like, you already know what
Exactly.
you're getting, right? Um,
Yep.
that's awesome. So I'm going to start opening it up. I have a lot of questions, but I realize that I shouldn't be too greedy and I should open it up to like everybody else as well. So there's a question from Amaris who's asking like, what's your favorite part, in working at Warner Brothers? And like, did you ever get to see like films in the making? Like, basically what everybody here is probably dreaming about as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really love that you put Space Jam up in the beginning, because that was probably one of my most fun ones, because that was, I mean, it's a little mean, but I stole that production from another client manager. I was like, no, this is mine. This is my childhood. I'm gonna meet LeBron James, all of that. So yeah, that final scene in there where he's walking with Bugs at the end, that was my scene that I helped with. So very small in the grand scheme, but it was mine, something I'm super proud of. Um, yeah, I have a story where Jordan Peele, he did his film, part of his film Nope at the studio. That was also mine. And I just remember standing in a circle with him and his team, and he asked me when the soundstage was built. And I said, I don't know, I can Google it. And he just thought it was the funniest thing. Like, he thought, as a client manager, we just know every single fact about the studio. I was like, but he could not stop laughing about that. So, I love working at the studio. Even in finance, it's much different. I'm not with the productions now, but it's very cool to see things from a different standpoint. Like, for instance, you never really think of a tour department when you think of entertainment, but there's so much that goes into tours. You have people like tickets, you have food, you have entertainment, all of these different things wrapped into one business that you have people from all over the world coming in and experience. So that's super fun for me now.
Uh, I'm so jealous. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing those little like anecdotes. Obviously, a few questions about internships at Warner Bros. Like, how does that look like? Is there like a summer internship program? We really wish we worked with you guys, but I also know that it's very difficult to kind of bring in people in the company. So, do you have any insight? You might not know, but do you have any insight about like how does the internship program works and how people can apply?
Yeah, so they have a few different internship options. Like, they have the trainee option, which will be on the WBD careers page. That's basically you come and you work with one of their productions. They have the regular internship where you come and you just intern for the summer, also through that website. And then they have one, I don't know what the actual name of it is, but if you live in Los Angeles, you're able to apply for it. And that one, basically, you start off as a freshman intern that summer, and then each summer you come back and you rotate to a different department. So you'll do that program, that internship for 4 years. And then they also have the WB Access program, which is fairly new. And that one has a bunch of different options. So whether you're a writer or an artist, or you want to do podcast, comedy, writing, it's all, they have different initiatives for all of those different ones. So that's ACCES Access. Like the coolest, I think the coolest one is House of Dragons. They basically, if you're a writer, they hire you to work on the show as a writer, which is really cool. And then the hope is, after, that time, they hire you officially and you continue working with them. So yeah, we have a lot of different internships.
That's amazing. House of Dragon, it's called?
House of Dragon is the TV show,
Oh,
the
okay. Oh,
HBO show. Yeah.
So they hire a writer there. That's so cool. Oh my God. That's so cool. Do you have an idea of how many people apply and how many people get in, or no idea?
I can only imagine. I can only imagine, but I think as far as people who get in each year, I think it's five.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah, so it's very, very, very competitive, but it's
fair.
open.
Fair. It's open. Best to try, right? And
Exactly.
I would imagine that probably the best strategy is also to kind of accumulate as many internships as possible before applying to those, so that you're having a better chance, right? Is that kind of the trend?
That works. I'm always one that says, why not? Why not apply? Even if you've only done one internship, why not apply? Just apply again next year if you don't get it.
Yeah.
So,
Just keep
yep.
trying. That's the way. Well, talking about that, I think in terms of like strategies of getting in, like Lindsay's asking, do you touched about networking, right? Which is obviously everything in this industry. Like, do you have any tips on how to network and like create maybe deeper relationships with people that you come in contact with the industry? Like, how did you get as like a tour guide to like a senior financial analyst, basically, right? Like how, like give us share a little bit of that magic, please. We want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I am a test. I can't do anything without networking. That's how I got where I am. Um, I mean, I had a theater degree and a psychology degree. I'm nowhere near those two fields right now. So it was all through networking. My thing was reaching out on LinkedIn. I mean, I was already in Warner Brothers, so of course my pool of people to reach out to were within Warner Brothers. It's the same for anyone in the chat. It's if you live in New York, your pool of people to reach out to is New York to start off with. So you don't have to be in a company. And I always say, as long as you have a moment, is what I call it, you're good. And your moment could be, I'm a junior in college. I'm trying to figure out my next steps because it's getting close to graduation. That's your moment. My moment right now is I graduate in June. So I'm really looking to see what's out there in the world because I'm about to graduate. So that's the case for a lot of people. But I'm gonna keep harping on LinkedIn. It's the easiest way. And it's like, even when we look at resumes to hire people, we click on LinkedIn first because we just want to see, is this person actually interested in the industry? Like we want to look through, see, okay, they're actually posting, they're active, they know about the strike, they know about this, what's the newest, the upcoming award show, just to show that they're doing something. And then we go to the resume and really look through and dissect it and start inviting people in. So that's, yeah, harping on LinkedIn and just yeah, figuring out if you want to work in advertising, find an advertising company nearby on LinkedIn, look it up, click the button that says people, and find the people associated with that company and just cold message them on LinkedIn and use your moment. As far as building relationships, that's hard. That's hard because people are busy. You're busy. It's hard to keep up with all the different people that you reach out to. That just goes down to it being your part-time job, basically. Uh, Making sure that when someone does post that you connected with, you're just liking it. Even if you don't comment, you're liking it. They're going to see that notification. It pings that, okay, this person, even if they don't know you, your name is in their mind.
That's so smart. That's so smart. Actually, somebody was also asking about like, how do you network when you're having, when you're having a little bit more social anxiety talking to people, and like, how do you make that happen, right? Because networking sometimes feels a bit like a game of extroverts, but I always tell people that it's actually not, right? You can really come in with good questions and try to talk very little and more listen, right? Which is what you should do. So would you say like those are good examples for people who might not be like, you know, super easy to like chat with, but like figuring out a way to be in people's minds?
Exactly, exactly.
That's great. I love that. So there's a lot of questions also about, you know, if like basically, you know, that internship program, you know, those internship programs that you were mentioning, like, you know, is it open only to students or is it open also to like recent graduates? You know, is it open to like maybe international like student? You might not know all of that, but I'm just kind of like gathering some of those questions here.
Yeah, well, I don't know all of it, but the rule of thumb in states is to do an internship, you either need credit, school credit, or you need to get paid. So if you look at any internship and it says a pay on there, then you know if you graduated, it's not open. That's what it's open to you. If you see there's no pay, then you can be pretty sure that that's strictly for people who are currently in school.
Gotcha. So that's kind of so yeah, obviously. So it's gonna be basically in the job desk, right? But you're basically saying that it's open for both, right?
Correct. Yeah. For the ones that I talked about with Warner Brothers, like Warner Brothers Access, I know is one that's open to everyone because they do pay whoever's involved in it.
Cool. So even for example, if you don't have a degree, like do you think it's still open for people who have
Still
experience?
open.
That's cool.
Yep.
That
Yep.
was one of the questions as well. Um, Somebody's asking about like, is there specific qualities that you're looking for in an applicant? I mean, I don't know if you've been involved at all on your end in recruitment, you know, within the studio, but are there things specifically like, you know, I don't know, experience, character trait that you're looking for? And how can like undergrads craft, for example, a strong application when they don't have much, obviously, yet on their resume?
Yeah, definitely. What I look for just starting off is excitement. I want someone who's like actually excited when they come into the interview. They have their list of questions for me. They, have questions about the company, or they come with inf- information about the company. I love when people will talk to me and they drop little tidbits showing that they've done their research. That's like A1 for me. So if you do your research before you come into an interview, so that even if that means like learning a little bit about that person, uh, being sneaky and snooping through their LinkedIn to learn a little bit, so you have something to talk about and know it's something in common. That's huge. But back to soft skills, if you can, when you're first starting off, you're not going to have a lot of experience, and it's all going to come down to your soft skills. So just like I took what I learned from working at a small hardware store and applied that to what I do at Warner Brothers, is the same thing you're going to want to apply when you're into these, when you come into an interview. You want to make sure that if you took calls at a restaurant, you know how to roll calls, you know how to effectively communicate messages cross functionally, however you want to word it. But you just want to make sure that whatever you've done in the past applies to whatever your job you're applying to, because the fact is you haven't done that job yet. So you just need to reassure them that you can learn. And that's the main thing. We don't look for super people who have worked already in that role, because why are they not working in that role now? Um, and then we also want people who may stay a little bit longer. So we're going to want fresh applicants who are newer, fresh out of college, just because they'll stay for maybe 2 or 3 years and really learn and then hopefully grow within our division. So we aren't your resume doesn't have to be super 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 stacked. It could be cool. Just come into the interview and be able to show that you can learn and do the job.
But I love what you said about, you know, figuring out a way to put your previous experience and like really highlight those transferable skills, right? I think it's a great thing. A lot of people start with hospitality, you know, F&B, like they're working at restaurant or retail. Like I always, and we always talk about this with our participants, is like those are really great experiences and that are very, very much valued, right? So how do you kind of extract all those things about like customer service, communication, like handling, administrative inventory, all of that stuff. So I really appreciate you saying that, because I think it's very true. And I think that companies do value that a lot. So for those who don't have like, a lot on their resume, but who have done the summer restaurant job, think about it.
Okay.
So a great question from Desan asking, what track within Warner Bros. Would you suggest advise newcomers to perhaps like pursue if they're interested in the creative side? For example, like directing TV and ultimately films. I think that's something that we get a lot, right? With our program, we don't have a lot of internships in directing on our end, like those more creative roles, because they're so difficult to kind of find. So what's your advice to kind of get to that?
Yeah, I always suggest that when you're looking for an internship and you want to work in entertainment, you don't really know where quite yet, that you work within an advertising firm, marketing firm, because they have their hands in everything. That's their job, is to literally get their idea onto a medium for people to see. So there you're gonna learn a lot, and then you can progress from there. If you want to work for sure, definitely on productions, you're going to want to get into the production office. That's one of the things I really regret. I kind of jumped a few steps and skipped, the part where you really learn the nooks and crannies of um, the production office, and that's where it all starts. When you talk about networking with people, that's where it begins, because you're seeing the people are seeing you every single day. You're learning from everyone on the studio lot. You're at the bottom of the total pole, but you have full access to everything that's happening on a lot, because they know you're there to learn as a PA. So after your internship, I would say, or during your internship, you should be reaching out and networking with the goal of becoming a PA. And that means doing, like I said, doing your research, figuring out who the directors are, not directors, but producers are, the line producers, and really trying to get in touch with them, because, like I said, when they have new seasons or whatnot, people drop and move to all the time. So those positions are available quite a lot, honestly.
Right. So you would still recommend PAing like as kind of like the first way to get in, even for those who are like future aspiring directors, right?
If you're an aspiring director, you have to PA. You you have to, because as a PA, that's the place where you're gonna learn things you would only know as a PA.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Somebody's asking like, how do they get their script in front of a studio rep? Like how does that happen? Like how can you pitch, a solid script idea, and hopefully getting them produced by a big company like yours?
Good question. Good question. Um, Unfortunately, it's really hard. It's it's really hard. Um, and I know that just from working at the talent agency. So in the States, it's customary that, if you want your script seen by a studio, it has to come through an agent. All writers will, have an agent. Scripts come through them. The loophole is if you have a lawyer and your lawyer can get it to them. The other loophole is you become friends with a producer, executive producer, who wants to look at your script directly. But when it comes to a studio, it has to go through the proper channels, which is the agent or the lawyer. Um, I always suggest as a writer that you write specs. And if you don't know what specs are, it's basically, say for if you watch NCIS, you're gonna write a quick 5-page script using the same characters, but with your theme for that episode, with your scene of events for that episode. So it's really quick. And then when you have your contact, you would send that to them, or you could send that to directly, if you have a contact, to the studio, and just let them know, this is just a spec. It's not an actual script. And then you're fine that way.
Wow, I didn't know that. I knew spec for advertising, like spec projects, but I didn't know you could do spec like writing. That's brilliant. That's something I'm gonna steal that one from you. Really cool.
Done.
So going through agents, right? And then you said the loophole for the lawyer, which I love. That's a great little tip, pro tip, right? By the way, somebody was asking, what was the name of the talent agency that you worked at?
It's AEFH.
AEFH. H. Got it.
It's Amsel. This is why I don't AEFH. It's four long names put together.
Four names
I
put
know
together.
Amsel and the H is Hinojosa. So
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So I want to do a 10-minute break to kind of like introduce a little bit also about the program and how you've been working with us, Justin, and then come back afterwards because we have so many great questions. So come back afterwards also to some of the questions. So please like stay tuned here and keep asking, your questions, not only about the program, but anything for Justin as well. Let me go ahead and share my screen because I think it's going to be also interesting for us to kind of, talk a bit about how we've been working together. Let me just, sorry, I'm like removing it, going back to it. Here we go. Okay, let me see if I'm there. All right. So just briefly to explain a little bit our relationship, with Justin, and the reason why we're able to get him here is that he's one of our coaches for our program. And so to explain a little bit about what we're doing on our end in 10 minutes, and I think a lot of our participants who are actually in the program here know all about it. So bear with us for a minute and then we'll come back to questions. But for those who don't know, we're a program that really tries to help students and fresh grads to break into the creative industries, right? Justin was mentioning it's really about networking. We're very much aligned with that. So we're trying to help our students to find opportunities, but also really build that network, right? With people like Justin, but with each other as well, because everybody's growing, getting into positions, into mid-level roles, and then hiring, right? That's the game. So the program has like four main components. The first one is that we offer, personalized coaching, right? Opportunities to talk to people, high up on a one-on-one setting with also a lot of modules. We have a guaranteed internship placement with great companies, obviously not as incredible potentially as WB, but with also a lot of amazing companies that are, sometimes a bit more boutique, and all the firms that Justin was mentioning, which is like, all those great firms where you can actually start, in and get your leg up. And then we offer personalized support and a network. So I'll go through those four components very briefly. But before, just a bit of information about our destinations. We've got opportunities in LA, where Justin is. We've got opportunities in New York, Chicago, and then we've got opportunities in Berlin, Melbourne, Sydney, and also virtually if you're not having the funds to be relocating, because it's a reality, and relocating also is an investment sometimes if you're living outside of those cities. So we have a few industries here. Obviously, most of you guys are really keen on entertainment if you're here today. So entertainment and media is one of them. But we've got also advertising, right? Justin, you were mentioning about, a big thing for people wanting to go to entertainment is actually to consider starting in advertising, because it's quicker projects and you get to learn a lot. We've got also opportunities in fine arts, design, and fashion. Those are all of our internship types. I'm not going to go through them because it's too long of a laundry list, but I would love for you guys to, go on the website if you want to learn more about it. And you can see kind of the different types of stuff: talent management, as Justin was mentioning, production, script, video editing, like photography, music business, but also design, etc., etc. The list is long. So in terms, Justin, you're right there. In terms of our coaching, so our coaching is basically a curriculum that you're going to do online. Okay, you can do it on top of your studies. We've built it bite-sized, and you can do it on your own time. It's not something where you have set hours. You can build it around your schedule. It has 10 modules in it. It's nothing theoretical about what we're doing. It's all pragmatic stuff. We're basically revising your resume with a resume writer, where if you're creative, we're putting you with somebody in your field to review your portfolio. I believe, Justin, you've been reviewing several portfolios of also upcoming directors and also looking at writers. If you're more going towards an industry track like production, you'll be talking also to somebody in your field to get some industry insights. You'll be paired with like a senior recruiter to learn how to job interview, which is certainly an art form. And then so we kind of help you to prepare your materials, right? So that you can look really, really good. And then after that, once we're done with it, we really focus on preparing you to enter the workforce. All the soft skills that Justin was talking about, we work on. How do you build your brand? How do you create connections to network with people? How do you write good business emails? Like, how do you prepare for managers that might be hard to work with, you know, like all the stuff that you kind of need to learn in the first few years, we're giving you ahead so that you can be already, I guess, you know, standing apart from the crowd, which is important to get the job. You want to be the best intern out of 5. If there's 5, you want to be that person who gets the job. So we're trying everything we can to kind of get you there. So that's the coaching element. And obviously we've got, you know, we're very fortunate to have, you know, Justin as one of our coach for, you know, people going towards entertainment careers, but we've had also like the former managing editor of Vice, and we've got people from the Guggenheim and from advertising agencies. So, you know, we've got some exciting people to talk to. And at the end, you get a certification, which you can put on your resume or your LinkedIn. The second part is that we guarantee an internship offer. Okay, so typically our internships are ranging from 3 to 6 months. So you know, it really depends on how long you want to do it. You can do it for academic credit. We work with several universities, you know, that offer also academic credit, so we can arrange it with your faculty if you want to do that. One thing that's important that, you know, we want to be very clear about and transparent, Justin was talking about it earlier, is that, you know, as much as I wish we could, we can't guarantee that internships are paid through the program. That's somewhere that we hope to be one day, but it's a reality of the industry that there's still, you know, a lot of great still, but unpaid internships. So we do say to our participants from the get, before they join in, that, you know, if an unpaid internship is a deal breaker, we totally understand, but then it's not right for them to move forward with the program. So it's really important for you to budget this and kind of think about financial planning if you're going to do it. You could potentially do a part-time internship if you want, and, you know, get a side job if needed. So those are some of our big company partners that we've worked with, but we also have a lot of really cool boutique medium firms where you get super hands-on experiences, which are awesome. I personally prefer that. I did both big corps and smaller firms, and I was always the person who wanted to be in smaller firms. Maybe Justin and I differ on that sense, but it's good. You can see the different type of spectrum. So just a couple examples of our companies, you know, Factory PR, for example, in LA, which is a great advertising, you know, in PR agency. You can work in PR, in socials, in account management. Atlantic Pictures in New York, Justin might be familiar with them, production company. So you can have like production internships, PAing, right, as we were talking about, video editing, script, post-production opportunities there. Atlantic is one of our great partners. Picture North in Chicago, iconic post-production company who's working on really cool projects from film to advertising. So you can also have some opportunities in video editing, in post-production. Example as well of a creative agency that we work with in Berlin, called Studio Aventi. Really cool team, super young culture, can work in like art direction, in animation, in motion, graphic design, all those areas. And then, you know, just giving you this little tidbit of the companies. But of course, you can see a lot more on our website. So the travel support is a big thing if you're going overseas, okay? So if you decide, for example, let's say you're in the US and you want to go to Australia, or you're in Australia, you want to go to New York, we're going to help with that. And we're going to do like the visa processing. I think, Justin, you've seen a lot of our international people coming through our program, right? We're pretty global. So we'll help with like the visa processing, which obviously if you want to get to the US, it's not an easy thing, but we'll handle it. We'll help with insurance, with, you know, helping you to find housing, and just making sure that you're, you know, meeting with our coordinators to do an in-city orientation. So that's going to be if you go overseas. Regardless of if you go overseas or not, we have a very strong support for the program. During the entire time, you'll have 2 dedicated coordinators. You'll have one that's going to be your virtual coordinator, which is going to start, you know, which is going to be with you basically from start until the very end. They're going to help with the curriculum. They're going to help setting up sessions with Justin, for example, as your coach. They're going to help set up interviews with companies when you're going to get to that stage, and they're going to help you, you know, for any troubleshooting. So that's a really good, I think, feature of the program, because you're really getting some support that you wouldn't have if you were to navigate this industry solo. And then the other thing is that you'll have an in-city coordinator. So if you go to New York, for example, or LA, you'll be meeting our coordinator, and they'll be doing like events, and they'll help you to navigate the local scene because they're locals and they know what's up. And they'll be there as well as an emergency contact. The final aspect of the program is the community element. And that's the big thing, right? Justin was really mentioning about that kind of networking element. We're all about it, okay? For me, This program is great for an internship. Obviously, 3 months is amazing, but 3 months is short in your life. What you're really gaining out of this program is the connections, to be honest. And that's something that's a lifetime kind of thing, right? So we have our own app where everybody's able to connect with each other. It's a lifetime membership. We're organizing really cool events like the one today, but we're also organizing physical events in each locations. We're sending resources, job lists every month, and you're able to connect with people who maybe did the program 5 years ago and who are now like already working as production execs and like who are already in the field. So maybe they're looking for jobs. You can get hired this way. That's the best part of the program, in my opinion, and really where you're investing in. So in terms of the financials and the tuition, because you want to really financially plan if you're going to do a program like that, it's important. The same way that if you were going to do, any educational program. So we have two different types of tuitions. We have our local and virtual tuition, which is 2,250 USD. For those outside of the US, just so you understand, it's aligned about the pricing of the tuition of one course. Okay. And that includes everything that we talked about from, us guaranteeing you an offer in terms of finding opportunities, all the curriculum that we're going to provide, as well as all the events. If you're doing our international program, it's a little bit more financial planning on your end. You have to add $1,000 to the tuition because it's going to be a lot more admin work for us to handle your relocation. But you also have to really look into budgets to understand how much your rent is going to be, your flights. There's a lot more expenses. Come talk to us about it. We have detailed budgets if you want to take a look at it. Going overseas is the most amazing thing. It's not cheap, but if you can do it and if you can save for it, it's an amazing opportunity and really something that will change the trajectory of your life. Obviously, not everyone can do it, so that's why we've also have great opportunities locally and virtually. So in terms of we have scholarships that we offer as well, which I highly encourage you guys to check out on our website. And then we've built payment options for the tuition to make it also a little bit more flexible. If you need to pay the deposit and the remaining later, 30 days later, or you can pay in installments to break it down a little bit. So we're trying, to make sure that it's not too much of a financial burden. And then, as I mentioned, we do have some great scholarships that you can apply to as well, which are all listed on our admission website. So the last kind of slide that I wanted to mention, because something's coming up for us, and I think it's important for those who are not in the program to know, we have our application deadline for our summer program. Okay, so if you want to do a summer internship in 2024, it's going to have to be before February 15 that you apply. After that, unfortunately, it's cut off because we need to be able to find you something. And most of the companies, I don't know, Justin, when Warner Bros. Is kind of cutting off their internship recruitment, but typically companies will recruit until April, most likely. So you really want to get, before that. So in terms of how to apply, we have an application form that you have to fill. Then once it's done, you'll get with us for an interview with our head of admission or with our admissions team. And then after that, we will review and let you know if you've been selected. Okay, we will send you the result, and then you can decide if you got accepted, whether you want to join. There's no application fee. So anybody can apply, and then it's only if you get accepted and you want to do it that you will need to start with the program and enroll with the tuition. So that's a little bit more, about the program so that you understand what we're doing here. And I want to go back now, to kind of answering any questions, you might have both about the program and also about, of course, for Justin. Justin, maybe briefly before we get back to this Q&A, like what has been your experience like coaching our participants, and what would you say like is maybe one of the, I guess, what are they gaining from that coaching with you when they're getting the chance to chat with you?
I mean, I'll start off by saying that I'm gaining a lot. It's always cool. I always say, I wish I could go back and tell myself these things. So the fact that I'm able to, share that and have you all be able to take that as, undergrads into your career, it's edifying for me. I appreciate that. But it's also, it's fun. Sometimes you learn just from talking out loud and you're like, oh yeah, I did that. Or sometimes let me take my own advice, let me reach out to more people. Oh yeah, I'm telling people to do coffee chats. I should probably reach out to somebody and do a coffee chat this week. So no, it's been super fun.
Yeah, I think we've had also amazing feedback from all of our participants with your coaching. So thank you for that. Somebody's asking me about the deadline for summer again. So it is February 15 basically. Just to make sure, and this is for our local programs. Unfortunately, our international programs for summer are already done for this summer. You can apply for fall at this stage for international. So local program will be only February 15, this will be our deadline for local programs or virtual programs. If you want to stay, for example, in the US or stay in Australia or do something virtually, you can absolutely, do that. Somebody's also asking about what's considered a fresh graduate for ArtBound. It depends where you go. We accept people like 2-3 years out, sometimes a little bit more, but sometimes for visa purposes, there are some cutoffs. If you want to go to the US, for example, you will need to be graduated for less than 12 months. Just one thing to note. Ariel is asking, like, how do I get a place in the program? You apply, you put together the same way that Justin was saying, right? You put together an application where you really explain what your motivations are. The same way that Justin was saying for us, we know you guys don't specifically have 15 internships under your belt. So it's okay. We want to see your transferable skills. And then when you show up to the interview with us, we want to see that you want it, that you're hungry, that you're excited for the industry that you're getting into, because we recruit and we accept people on personality. Okay. Most importantly, we want to see, maybe you don't have the best experience, but you've got when I'm saying personality, I don't mean extrovert, or I don't mean that. When I say personality, I mean like somebody who really feels like they're driven. That's important for us because that's going to play very well in an interview. Justin, I know this is very important for you, right? To kind of have somebody that's in front of you that really showcases that they want it. So it's the same way for you. I think it's the same way for both of us on how to recruit. So somebody's asking for you, Justin. I'm going back to one of the questions. What are your top tips on making ourselves stand out as a first-time PA? That's a great question. I just wanted to get back to one of that because you've talked about PAing a lot. So any advice on that?
Definitely asking a lot of questions. And a lot of people say that don't be afraid to ask questions, but the best way to ask a question is to have an answer with it. So that shows, I really thought about this question. I didn't just go straight to you for an answer. I thought about this. This is what I think the answer may be. Can you confirm it? And if you confirm, like if I confirm you're correct, that just shows me, okay, this person can figure things out on their own, but they are smart enough to check and make sure that they're correct before making a mistake. So ask questions, but have a well thought, think about the question first, have a somewhat of an answer. And be open to doing everything. Being a PA is hard. And if you give off a vibe like this is too much work, people will just add more work to your load, which you need. Believe it, believe it. So you just want to come excited, ask questions, ask to do things, and then when you ask to do things, you become friends with people, and it's kind of reverse psychology. If you become friends with them, then they're gonna stop, asking you to do so much stuff. So be open to everything, and really just take advantage of it. That's the thing, that people know you're a PA for a reason. You don't want to be a PA forever. So if you come in with the mindset that you are here for advancement and actually play to that, then they're going to take you seriously and they're going to treat you like an actual, higher level member of the crew. So yeah.
That's a great advice. And yes, about asking the right questions and when to ask questions as well, right? That's something that we talk a lot about in the program. We have a module dedicated about like how to ask questions, like when not to piss off your boss also with too many questions, but how to figure out a way, right? So so Justin, somebody's asking just a bit more of a niche question, but do you guys have character design, like type of internships, like, through Warner Bros? I mean, I'll talk about through Artbound, but through WB, like, do you guys have something like that or not really?
I don't know, but if you go to WBD careers and go to animation, I'm sure, like I said, it's a huge company. I'm sure within Cartoon Network or some of the other, divisions within Warner Brothers, has to be that internship available or something along those lines.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And to answer your question also, because the question on the chat as well asked for us, a little bit less character animation. We really wish we did. Actually, there's a few amazing studios, as like Justin was mentioning, but it's quite difficult to get into those fields. And so that's something that we do a little bit less for us. Character animation, like 2D. We would typically want to tell you like, hey, if you can do some motion, we'll help on the advertising side. But yeah, 2D cell animation, character design is a little bit less what we do. Not that we don't want to, but we've tried. And you know, it's a little bit difficult to unfortunately still access. So great, guys. So I want to look at one final question. There's so many, and I really am so fortunate for you guys. Perfect question. Perfect final question. How do you balance your wellness and like to basically you're working, I'm sure, very hard, right? How do you balance your wellness and still continuing to be like inspired creatively and like, being present also for the people around you? I think that's a beautiful final question for us to kind of answer and conclude hopefully on some pro tips. Maybe you're going to tell us like, I don't know, I'm still finding the answer, but
No, I mean, I tell you, I will always find joy in work because when I go to work, I kind of keep the mindset that I am somewhere in my life. Somewhere else looks at me and thinks, oh, they're doing amazing. I look at other people that think, oh, they're doing amazing. I want to do that. Everyone is never going to be to their, well, hopefully they will be someday, but they always have something more they want to do. Like me, I haven't reached my final goal yet. I'm still in graduate school right now, still working towards that. So just having that in mind and being when I talk to people, that helps with my networking. Just knowing that we all want more. But yeah, just I'm just a grind type person. I like just knowing that there's more to do. And then talking to undergrads is just super helpful for me because it just reminds me like to feel that passion that just re-energizes me every time I get that energy. So yeah.
I love that. And I think it's great for you guys also to hear about the fact that it's a constant journey. That's the truth. Even when you're like in a very high end position, like, Justin is, right? Like it's always just constantly wanting to involve, wanting more. And that's the drive, right? That's why we do it. So I think this is really inspiring. I will, before just we leave, put this in front of you guys in case we have a QR code here in case you want to check your eligibility for the program, because obviously we do have eligibility requirements. So if you want to snap this, you can feel free. It will link you to a form where you can check in with us. You can also contact us to schedule a call, okay, with an advisor so that they can tell you a little bit more about like, based on what you want to do, what type of internships you want to do. We can tell you like, hey, we can do this. This might be difficult. Like we can advise you on more of a personal level. So feel free to book a time to chat. So just wanted to leave this out there. Guys, this was honestly amazing. And I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to get to all the questions. There were so many great ones. Justin, you're a gem. Thank you so much for being so real and just genuine and telling it, how it is for us. I think I believe that here, everybody, at least I really appreciated just how genuine you were and not gatekeeping like the information, right? Which is the main problem here in this field. So thank you all so much. And guys, I mean, we finished this meeting at 73 people. So kudos to you guys who stayed for the whole hour. And, if you're already on this meeting, it means that you're already doing something right. You're already hungrier than a lot of other people. So keep doing what you're doing. Feel free to reach out to us at any time. And thank you guys so, so much. Justin, thank you. I think a big round of applause for you. You're awesome.
Thanks. Great chatting with you. It's been fun.
All right, everybody. See you all. Feel free to reach out to us on our website. We've linked here. I'll put it one last time, artboundinitiative.com. Thank you, everybody, for joining. For those who are on camera, appreciate you guys. I've been like looking at you as well. So thanks so much and chat with you guys soon. Bye, everyone.